Okay, all right, here we are again, live. Day 3. Let's see if we can make this run a bit smoother. So, I have a question to answer today, a few questions, so I'll get right to it. And first off, we're going to have a look at this question here from Mike M. And Mike was trying to find the formula for maximum in the Edgerator scripts. And he was looking for something like the maximum high or minimum low of the last n bars. And that formula is actually, it is available. And if you open up your chart scripts, let me show on my camera, on my desktop, you open up your chart scripts. And if you have a look into system indicators, you will find a formula called HHV, the highest high value of the last n bars. If you drag that onto the chart, and then you open up the formula parameters, you'll find that one of the settings for highest high value is the number of lookback bars. So you can change that to your desired setting. For instance, say 50 lookback bars. And now this highest high, now let's just get rid of the moving averages on here. And so now this indicator is plotting the highest high of high over the last 50 bars. And if you added the lowest low, that's also an indicator here, lowest low value, LLV. And you could say lowest low value of 50 bars as well. And now you have an indicator which is, or you have bands essentially on your chart which are bounded on the upside by the highest high value in the last 50 bars and on the low side by the lowest low value of the last 50 bars. So so it's there. It's just the naming probably was an issue there. Okay. So that's that. Then so after the last live show, Henry wrote to me. And Henry, by the way, if you weren't aware, Henry is the person who's been providing a lot of scripts in the Edgerator forum. And also, I've now bundled them together into a script area called HK scripts. So let me just show where that is in the system. So if we come back to the desktop, if we open up chart scripts and you come down to just close everything down, and then at the very bottom of the chart script area, you'll find HK scripts. This is Henry K's script area. All of the scripts are his written. Let's try this. All right. Sorry about that short intermission there. All right. Where are we again? That's right. We're in the Q&A section and we're answering a question. We've finished answering a question and from Mike, and I'm currently just showing that Henry K, who has written all of these indicators, I'm now in the chart script area in the program. And if I just remove my overlay here, you'll be able to see that. So there's a whole bunch of scripts here under Henry HK scripts, they're called. And if you scroll down to the very end, you'll see that there are thousands of these scripts that Henry has generously provided for use by everybody who uses the program. So thanks very much for that. And after the last live stream, Henry sent me a new script, which I will add into the HK scripts area eventually. But if you want to just go ahead and play with this right now, it's very interesting. And this is based off of the alpha we talked about last time, alpha 21. And the modification to that was asked for by Ian Ian A, he asked for a modification which had two segments, so relative strength with two segments. So you had a 70% weighting to the first 3 months and a 30% weighting based on the prior 6 months. So here's Henry's script. It's very similar to mine in terms of the actual code, although he has been a bit more specific with the number of days that make up, the number of trading days that make up 3 months. I just roughly put in 60 trading days. But in Henry's script, he's got 63 and then 126 days for 6 months. So a little more accurate there. But then the magic here is that there are, he's actually put in the value for the this relative strength indicator, and this output there is called alpha. But then he's also put in an EMA for two EMAs, a long term and a short term, of that alpha value. And so when you plot this on a chart, you get quite a nice display, which will, I'll just show you how to do that. If you can actually copy this script if you want, or wait for it to appear in the program. But it's very, very nice. What you can do is you go to your chart scripts area, you say create a brand new script, and you'll get a new chart script editor, and then you can start typing this code in, which, and you didn't see me do that, did you? Because we're on here. So, yeah, so you go to the chart scripts area, you hit the new script button up here, and you get a place where you can start typing in new scripts. So I'll, as soon as I have this already on my desktop, I'll just copy and paste it, but you could type that into your program. And then in the parameters tab, you do need to have the N1 and N2 values. And we'll say N1 is going to be 4, that's a short-term EMA, and N2, we'll say that's going to be 34, that's the longer-term EMA. And if we just give this a name, I'll call it HK Ian A RS. That's a bit of a long-winded name for it, but there we go. That's Henry's version of Ian's question, the relative strength indicator. So let's just save that. Okay, compiled, so that's good. And then we'll find it in the My Scripts area over here. Here we go, HK Ian A RS. And if I plot that on the chart in the lower area, you see it gives a very nice display. Let's just widen out the chart to make it a little bit easier, and I'll just remove this overlay here. So yeah, so now you can see what this looks like. So if I open up the symbols, then I can just go down through the various symbols down here, and you get a nice display of this relative strength. Okay, and the relative strength line is, you know, has a 0 value here. Anything above that area is shaded in this light shade of blue, and anything below the 0 is shaded in this yellow. And then when you get crosses of those moving averages of the relative strength line, then they get shaded in a different color too. So you get to see some nice crosses when you've got some strong values of this this relative strength coming in. So I think that's quite a nice display of that particular relative strength. So thanks for that, Henry. Very good. Okay, so that was very nice. Then I had another question came in, a quick question from Jerry. He was wondering where Jerry has been looking at the RSI power zones strategy and the RSI power zones template. And previously, in a previous video, I talked about putting the RSI overlay onto a chart. So I'll just show how to quickly do that. And what you'll do is you'll come into the chart scripts area, scroll down to system indicators, you'll find your RSI power zones overlay, and you just drag this over onto the main chart over here. Okay. Now the overlay is just plotting little up arrows and down arrows. So up arrows when there's a buy condition, and down arrows above price when there's a sell or an exit condition. So, and if we have to zoom in to see that. So here you can see Apple, you can see the blue, the green up arrows, that's buy, and then the red down arrow, that's exit. So entry 1, entry 2, exit, entry 1, exit, entry 1, exit, entry 1, entry 2, exit, entry 1, exit. And as I had mentioned before, the RSI power zones strategy has been performing really well recently. And it will continue to perform well as long as people are buying the dips. If the dips are being bought, then this strategy will do well. At some point, that will change. But for now, this strategy has been working. Now, so thanks for that, Jerry. Hope that answers your question. Also, had a question from Hans Joachim, and there you may find this on your system actually, that you don't see the entry and exits tab along the bottom here, where my cursor is. Okay, you'll see there is a templates tab, a reports viewer tab, an entries and exits tab, and a trade simulation tab. But you could potentially be missing the entries and exits and trade simulation tab because there is a global setting. If you go up to the home area and you go over to system settings, there's a system setting to actually turn those two tabs off. You see when I clicked on show backtesting tabs, you can actually hide them. By default now they should always be on, and the reasoning for having that option was just to try and clear things up for people who are taking a trial of the program. A lot of times people don't want to do the backtesting, and it's just information overload to have all of that there. Was the initial thinking behind having that as an option and removing them by default. But on further thought, it's actually just going to be more straightforward to just always have them there. Even though it is still an option, if you initially loaded the program with the original default of having them turned off, then they will probably still be off on your system. So you can go in and turn them on, and they will suddenly appear. So that's that. Thanks, Hans Joachim, for that. And so yeah, there's the questions that I have had received. So appreciate everybody for paying attention and sticking with me as I try out the live streaming. It's a whole different experience really to doing a pre-planned webinar, because I am actually looking out for questions live here, and you can tweet questions to me, or you can enter into the YouTube chat area, and I'm actually monitoring both of those areas. So, but here's how you could ask me a question live. You can email me, you can tweet me at erlive at Edgerator. That's my Twitter handle, and then use the hashtag erliveqa. That will get to me. And even if I'm offline, or if I don't have time to answer this in today's live session, I'll have the question for next time. So would appreciate that. Now, while I'm here, and we went through those things fairly quickly, and I'm still really testing out the live streaming software. I've got some good experience this week so far, and I think this is something that really could work well. So I would like to know, if you're watching this, I'd like to know opinions about if I was to do a pre-market live stream for maybe 10 minutes max, around that figure, which would just review using Edgerator software to just analyze the markets as they are before the market opens. So I could do that, and potentially could do that most days. I'm fortunate at the moment that I'm in the UK, and so um, I'm up way before the market opens, so I would have time to get that done. So, but I'd only do it if people are interested. So if you are, let me know. Tweet me at edgerator #ERLiveQA or shoot me an email. Would appreciate that. Also, please remember, if you're watching this, to hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button in YouTube, and also there's a notification icon after you hit subscribe. Turn on notifications. So doing those things will really help to for me to notify you when I'm actually going live and other things that are happening with Edgerator videos. So that would be very useful and helpful. And also, the more people that subscribe to the YouTube channel, the more that I know that people are engaging in what I'm saying. So that would be helpful too. So just a little reminder there. So, so thanks for doing that. Thanks for doing that. Great. Okay, so I have a little bit more time today. So how about I'll just go through, there was some interest in relative strength, the relative strength that we talked about last time in the live stream. And Ian sent me that script, Henry sent me that script with the Ian's relative strength nicely laid out, so that's good. So I just wanted to follow up with relative strength to just go through a few more things that you can do that are actually very insightful. So let's take a look at that. So, and what I'll do is use the template for relative strength. So let's go back to the desktop. And okay, so there we are on the desktop. What I'll do is I'll close this chart down now, since we're not going to be using that right away. And there's a... Okay, here we are. Great. Right, so there's a lot of things going on here. I have many screens in front of me and several microphones and cameras. So there's just lots going on. Right, so what I wanted to do is go and take a look at the, and hopefully you can see this now, the relative strength ranking and indexing template. Let me just remove my my picture there so you can see on the right hand side when I'm going and selecting Pro Tools, and relative strength ranking and indexing is right in there. You just have to kind of scroll down to find it. All right, so some very interesting things that you can find out from this template. I will be using for this, I think I'm just going to use my list of CBOE weeklies. I tend to run a lot of things on that list as a starting point, just because I know that those stocks are fairly liquid because they have weekly options. So, but I'm not saying this is the best list to run the templates against. That's you can run them against any template. You can run the template against any list. So, but I will use CBOE weeklies, and what I'll do is, in the system you've already seen that there's different definitions of relative strength in the various scripts in the programs. For instance, if you open up the choose, go to system indicators, and just scroll down till you find the RS underscore scripts, you'll get an example of Here we are. So all the ones that are currently just built into the system, and you can write your own as we have done. You've got the alpha 21 relative strength function. You've got Connor's RSI relative strength function. You've got IBD relative strength function. Okay, these ones are fairly well known as to what they are. Then there's relative strength based on moving average. This is not anything that is well known and might need a little description, but basically it's giving a value of how far the close price is in terms of percentage above a moving average, and you can specify the moving average. So you can think of that as sort of a pressure on a moving average, and it generates a relative strength which you can use to compare different stocks. So the ones that will come to the top of the list will be the stocks that are most percentage points above their moving average. You can change the moving average to be any number you like. Then there's relative strength based on just percent change. And you can say how many days of percent change you want to have for that relative strength. 1 day is a good starting point, but you can choose totally what you want there. Relative strength based on price is a really interesting one, and I added this in because it's not really a relative strength in terms of a technical strength, but it does generate a number. Okay, it does generate a number that can be used as a relative strength number to get some interesting insight into how price is having an effect. How price has an effect. Are low-priced stocks outperforming higher-priced stocks? So the idea there is it's just essentially the price of the stock. So imagine something like the Tesla that's in the, I have no idea where Tesla is now, in the 600-700s, something like that. Okay, that has a very high number. And then you might have something like Tilray now is maybe it's at the moment 20, something like that. It's going to have a much lower number. So in that way, Tesla would be ranked much higher in terms of the relative strength. And you can then use this template to see if stocks that are priced higher are outperforming stocks that are priced lower. If you rotate into the highest priced stocks every day or the lowest priced stocks, this is very interesting. Okay, then there's relative strength based on the slope of the linear regression channel and a relative strength based on Wilder's RSI. So those are the ones that are built right in there, and you can come up with your own, design your own, create your own too. So I'm going to take a look at, since I went ahead and explained this price one, I'm just going to have a look at this quite closely. So relative strength based on price. It's a very interesting idea. Okay, so what I will do is I'll use a time frame from January 2019 up to present day. Okay, I'm going to use that price. I'm going to generate an index over that price range, over that time range. So that is 2 years and a bit. Now to look back 2 years and a bit, we'll probably need a few more bars than that. So I'll just type in 1,000 there, and I'll leave all of the other settings the same, and you'll see what will happen here. So I'll just hit the run here. And I explained before, this template is doing a lot of processing internally, and you'll see all of the different worksheets that are produced in the final workbook report. But it is doing a lot of processing here, which is why it takes a little bit longer than other more simple templates. Okay, so here's the result essentially. I always like to sort this by the highest index. It's quite striking. It's quite striking, and you can come up with your own conclusions about this. I'm just really not trying to say too much about it, but pay attention to this. Have a look at it and come up with your own conclusions. Run it on different time frames. Run it on different lists. But but it gives you a good insight into how lower price stocks are performing compared to higher price stocks. So what this is saying is what you've got in the purple line. Let me remove this camera overlay. What you've got in this, it was not really purple, it's brown in the brown line, is rotating into the bottom 10, the bottom 10%. The bottom 10% in that relative strength number, that's the lowest 10% of stocks, lowest priced 10% of stocks. Okay, and this index is produced by daily rotating into the lowest priced 10% of stocks. There has been a significant outperformance of low price stocks in this CBOE weeklies list since the low last year in March 2020, the coronavirus sell-off and the recovery since then. Lower price stocks have massively outperformed higher price stocks. So the 0 to 10, i.e. the lowest 10%, massively outperformed the highest 10%. So here's the highest 10%, which have underperformed SPY, essentially. The index here, IX Comp, I set to SPY. And so over that time period, SPY has gone up 75%, okay, 74.91. And rotating into the top 10% price-wise of stocks, that has gone up. That would have gained 52% only. But the lowest price stocks really took off. So it's quite an interesting thing to observe. Now, so I did mention that a lot of worksheets are produced, so you can see all of the worksheets here. Whenever EdgeRater runs a template, it produces a report which is in Excel format, and it shows you the report within EdgeRater, but it's also available in Excel, so you can just go into the reports folder and open it up in Excel as well. So that's quite a useful feature. But all of these worksheets are produced. And so if I go to this chart, is based on generating indexes using this average rank worksheet. Okay, so this is the 1 day average rank of 1 day average of percent rank of values from the price. That's a bit of a mouthful, but in the end it's quite straightforward. It's just ranking everything by price daily. And so if you want to see what the bottom on any 1 day, so let's take today for example, 4/29/21 was yesterday's close. So these are ranked from highest to lowest right now. So I can see the top 10%, and that's everything from 100% in here, because this is done from 0 to 100%, ranking all of the stocks. So if I take everything that is between 90 and 100%, so that's all of these down to here. These are all of the stocks that would be included in that index today. Okay, to be held for 1 day. They would be held until the close of tomorrow when that index is being generated. And they would be things like, well, it looks like the highest price stock here is Amazon, then Priceline or Booking, then Google, and all of these are the high price stocks. We can just double click on one of these and it will bring up a chart so we can verify if that's true. Yeah, Amazon is currently, well, 3,400-ish. Booking is 2,500. Google, 2,400. So going down all the way through the list. So all of those are used to generate that 90 to 100 index. And at the lower end, everything in the 0 through to 10% is being used to generate the low-priced index. Okay, and there are things like Cloudera, which is currently at $13. The lowest price stock this is using is Sundial at 90 cents. Genius Brands at $1.79, and so on. So you get the idea of how those indexes what those indexes include. And remember, the rotating index is rotating daily into the new set of whatever the lowest priced and highest priced stocks are. So what else can we do there? It got me thinking that if the lowest 10%, how many stocks is that? We're talking about, well, it's 10% of 580 stocks, so about 58, 60-ish stocks. What if we just take the lowest 2? So if I look at this, the average rank sheet, I can see that anything with a 0, if I want to just take the lowest, let's say 5, let's be generous here and include more. So the lowest 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Today it would be all the way up to Transocean. So that's basically from 0 to 0.6% in terms of their percent rank. Okay, so I can go back to my templates and I can change one of these. I'll say 0 to 0.6%. And I will just run this again. Oh, before I do that, let's change another one. And we'll take the highest 5 as well. Why not? So I'll go back to my reports viewer, and the highest 5 would be the opposite of that, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, from 99.3 to 100. Okay, so we'll go 99.3% to 100%. Okay, and I'll just hit the run again on this. So don't make any other changes, not changing the time frame. Not changing the time frame, and not changing the relative strength function. All I've done is change the index generation to give an index with much fewer stocks in the index. So let's see how that works. So let's close down this chart for now. Yep, we'll just close that down. We'll sort by highest value of index to lowest. Okay. So currently we're not plotting the very highest one of these indexes, but if I do, there we have it. Using the lowest 5 price, the 5 lowest price stocks for generating this index, the 5 lowest price stocks, we end up with an index over those 2 and a bit years, which turned out at 21,868. That's an incredible number over 2 and a bit years. And it basically does mean that if you had every day just rotated every day at the close, you buy the lowest 5 stocks, and the next day at the close you sell those 5 and you buy the next lowest 5 price stocks, although a lot of times you wouldn't need to sell them because they would remain the lowest price stocks. But if you did that every day over that 2-year period, this is what would have happened to your portfolio, and that's quite the number there. If you took instead of doing the lowest 5, you took the lowest 58 or 60. That's this next one down here. Okay, and that's quite a nice increase as well, but nothing compared to the lowest 5. You do have to be aware when you're dealing with the CBOE weeklies list that they're not all stocks in there. You've got some ETFs. Leveraged ETFs, triple leveraged ETFs, double leveraged ETFs. You've got some bear side ETFs and some bull ETFs. You can obviously you can find out what is in there by just going to the list itself and taking a scan through. If you look at this and you're then wondering what stocks were included on any one of those days, you can just go back to over to the average rank worksheet and scroll down to the bottom here, and we see that today it would have been Genius Brands and Sundial would have been included. That would have been the case also yesterday and the day before, so they would have been in there for quite a while. If we scroll through there, you can see that's not always the case. So on 8/13/2020, for instance, just as an example, the stocks that would have been included would have been Sundial and Express. Okay, go back to 7/24/2019, and the lowest price stocks there would have been Fuel Cell and Vaxart Inc. Okay, so that's one way of seeing what would have been included. There is another way, which might be a little clearer, a little cleaner, cleaner and clearer. And so the second way is to go to the entries and exits tab, take your relative strength price, RS_price, pop that in here, go to the manage, and actually let me just, I think when I did this before you couldn't really see because the video was in the way. Let me just remove that. Okay, so if you go down to the managed code area and pop in rank by value and say this time instead of a percentage of stocks you're taking, you're going to take a number of stocks. We'll say we'll take the lowest 5, just like we did in the ranking and indexing worksheet. We'll say we'll take the bottom 5 of price, and we're going to run this. I won't set a date in here. This will just use my entire date range, which is 10 years of data. But this runs pretty quickly, and it will come back with the answer. So the lowest price, as I said before, the lowest price stocks were for the last little while have been Sundial and Genius brands. And you have to scroll over a little bit. Sundial has been the lowest price stock in that list for a long time. Then it was Genius and Mara. Then it's Fuel Cell and VXRT, F-Cell and VXRT, WKHS and CODX. So you can see how it's rotating into the different ones based on this relative strength. Okay, and then obviously if you double click on one of these, get a nice pop-up chart which will just point out the day that we're looking at it when it was the lowest price stock in the list of CBOE weeklies. And I can just pop that on above everything else, and I can just go through and I can look at all of these and find out exactly what the stock looked like on the day that it made it into that list. And if you had implemented a system where you were rotating daily into those stocks, then that's what you'd have been faced with essentially on the day that you made the trade. If I put that on the right hand side of the chart, every time I click on something else, it's going to pop it right on the right hand side. So it'll give you a good idea of what it would have looked like to make that trade. Now, obviously, when there's many in a row and it doesn't change, you wouldn't be selling them and buying them back again. That would just incur commissions. You would just hold on to it. So interesting. Anyway, I haven't really considered having this as something you would implement as a trading system, but I mean, the charts show that you could, and it would have been very successful. So that's something to consider. If you are interested in doing that, run this program and take a look and do a little bit more analysis just to make sure it is something you really would like to do. Okay. All right. I think that's good for the live session. Let me just check. Did I get any more questions? No. Okay. Very good. All right. Enjoy the weekend, everybody, and thanks for bearing with me as I tried the live streaming software out this week. I've been very impressed with the software, I must say. And I'm using vMix. If you're interested, vMix is very, 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 very good for the PC. It's amazing software, actually. So yeah, super impressed with that. And we shall. Oops. See you next time. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.